Hey everybody, Darren Slaughter, darrenslaughter.com. I just got done reading a really good article in Entrepreneur Magazine called The 5 Warning Signs Your Business is Killing Your Relationship. And I thought this was a good topic to talk about because we're getting into that time of year where a lot of you guys and girls are going to be disappearing from home for 10, 15 hours, 18 hours a day while you're out doing jobs, cutting lawns, whatever it is you do. We're coming into prime time season, at least in the northern hemisphere, for being out there and doing the work. That has a lot of strain on relationships, and not just in the home improvement business, but in any business. It's really kind of what sacked my first marriage. It was my baby. It was something that I grew from nothing. So, you always are protective of it. These are the five warning signs they give you. I'm going to kind of put a little bit of a spin on it myself. I'll link up to the article so you can read it yourself. But just, if you're new in business, or even if you've been around 20 years and you're just not paying attention, these are some things that, really going into this season you should pay attention to. If you're endlessly arguing about the lack of time, that's the biggest one. That's the one kind of I just addressed a little bit. Time is always going to be precious. You don't have the ability to be in two places at one time. So you're going to have to give your time and attention to somebody, somewhere, somehow. Somebody else is always going to be pissed off that you're not paying attention to them. Trying to kind of get an even keel, trying to make everybody happy, really kind of just makes you miserable. I know that. If you have a spouse that's understanding, then great. If not, you really kind of have to talk through it and figure out what the best alternative or what the best solution is. My wife is fantastic in terms of working. My home office is right off of the kitchen, and I'll work all the time. If I'm on the first floor, I work all the time. I'm sitting here at the desk trying to figure something out new, either talking to people in our agency or talking to clients or customers, whatever it happens to be. I'm always talking to somebody, and she's very forgiving when it comes to that. Your mileage may vary, and if it does, it's something you need to address. Number 2 is burnout puts stress on your relationship. Listen, nothing makes everybody around you crazy like you being an asshole. If you're just at wit's end, if you've got a particular thing that's bothering you, or something's not going right, or you just are legitimately burnt out, you're going to get irritable and antsy, and anything somebody says to you is going to drive you crazy, and there's going to be a lot of fights involved. So you have to make sure that you're able to separate, especially the fact that if you work from home, you have a home office, or you're working out of the house, that you can kind of leave those problems wherever you happen to be working from, and as you travel through the rest of your house, you're not carrying that with you, because that's important. That'll get you. Number 3, business talk dominates the conversations, and this is one thing I don't do this time around. I don't talk about work with my wife today. Very rarely will the topic come up, but normally she just kind of leaves me alone when it comes to the business. And I say, when I say leaves me alone, it's kind of a poor choice of words. We don't talk about it because it literally could consume all of our conversations if I let it. For no other reason than it's what I think about all day, every day. So you have to be able to talk about other things, and very rarely will the topic of work come up unless there's some pressing issue, there's something I need some advice on or something. We typically leave the business conversation alone. Number 4, financial instability can lead you down the divorce path. Listen, there's nothing worse than having an underfunded business that you're trying to make ends meet. You've got truck payments, mortgage payments, school bills, whatever, camp, whatever it happens to be, and you run out of money before you run out of month, then it's a problem. And you may need to reevaluate the entire, owning your own construction business right now, because there are more important things to focus on, like getting a steady paycheck, than having your own business. And sometimes you have to bite the bullet and just get back in somewhere else and either do that part-time or do that a little bit and do side jobs. I mean, that's how most contractors start off, is by doing side work. So maybe you need to go back to doing that. Last but not least is the lack of emotional support from your spouse. Now, you can have somebody who's ambivalent, but when you have somebody who is actively not supporting what you're doing, that's really the worst, because any little thing that they could see, or any little thing that kind of presents an issue for the family, that's what they're going to use as the drum they beat, is the business. So you have to make sure that your partner is totally on board, totally embedded in the fact that that he or she may not work in the business, but they better damn well be on board with you having the business. Because and then what that also means in terms of living with somebody who is self-employed, and whether you're on your own or whether you have 50 people or 100 people or 1,000 people working for you, what that means. Being married to somebody who works for themselves is not like being married to somebody who goes and works for somebody else. And I'm sure I don't have to tell many of you on this video, but if you're out there and you're kind of just thinking about throwing a shovel in the ground this year for the first time for yourself, you have to know that going into it, because there's going to be 100 things that call your attention every week, and if you don't have a partner that is behind you, or they're not supporting you, it's going to be a long, lonely slog to get it off the ground, or to continue in what you're doing. So again, I'll link to the video. It makes sense to take a look at these 5 things, reevaluate your own situation. I think the number one reason, or number one thing that comes up is the conversations over time, and your ability to give it, or you feeling like it's being taken from you. That's probably the number one killer. Fix that, because that's easy. While no, they're not making more time and you can't buy more time, you can kind of adjust your calendar. Get up a half hour earlier, get up an hour earlier, go to bed an hour later, and put in that time that your partner is asking from you, or your kids are asking from you. It's like that old saw goes, nobody on their deathbeds ever said, I wish I worked longer, or worked harder, or worked more. So whatever it was. Anyway, I hope that helps. Remember your partner this year as you go into those long 15-hour days. Have a good one.